South Florida, I think they rested on their laurels too long. They didn't act soon enough because their in-state rival really, really did. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be updated on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also hit the like button too. Okay, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much to everybody. We are at 1,000 subscribers. And again, you guys are the best. I love you guys so much. We got some big news coming for me. Okay, if you don't follow me on Twitter, make sure you do so. I'm trying to post to Instagram. I just really haven't done it so much. Follow me on Twitter because we got some news coming up. I'm probably going to have a live stream Memorial Day night, probably like 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 Eastern, something like that. When you guys are all home and everything like that, things are good. You're back from your trips because we got some stuff we got to talk about, man, because June's going to be a big month for us here and on Twitter. Anyways, thank you all so much. Let's get into the video. So I came out with a video a couple of days ago talking about Joel Klatt, basically saying that, what's going to happen eventually is we're talking about conference expansion. That changed from conference expansion to conference realignment, making sure that you got the right teams and good markets, adding them together so the media markets and media partners can combine to make sure that there's lots of money on the table for those schools. However, with that, he also mentioned the fact that eventually we're going to come into a situation where these, how do I say this, charity cases in the Big Ten and the SEC need to watch their back because eventually we're talking about, originally we're talking about who can we add. We will soon talk about who can we drop. Basically what it's trying to say here is that you can see this from, those schools that are kind of middling in the SEC and the Big Ten to Washington State, a team I made a video about recently. You can't sit around and rest on your laurels. There was probably a situation where Texas was sitting there saying, why do we get the same media payout as West Virginia? Again, love me some West Virginia. We're also being in a situation where USC is probably like, why are we getting the same media payout as Washington State? Those questions are going to be answered across multiple different areas. So what you need to do is make sure in conference realignment, and especially for your college football program, you're always trying to do better. You're always trying to build and grow and adapt. There's one example that I think is a little too late. A little too late? Yeah, too little too late. That would be something that came out recently. It's a good step for them in the right direction, but South Florida, you did this probably 16 years too late. We'll get into that news right now. It says here from frontofficesports.com, by the way, this is an awesome website to follow. I really like what they do. USF nears green light for $340 million on-campus stadium. Notice the language there. Nears green light. They haven't even got to that point yet. More than likely, it is going to pass here. It says the University of South Florida is a step closer to going ahead with its $340 million football and lacrosse stadium. The school plans to have the new stadium open in 2026 by Owen Poindexter here at 4 p.m. We continue on with what the story says here. The University of South Florida is on track to build a brand new stadium. The Finance Committee of the school's Board of Trustees unanimously approved the financial plan of the $340 million, 35,000-seat venue to open in July 2026, with construction beginning this October. The building would house USF's football and lacrosse teams. The football team currently plays at Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A big point in conference realignment, making sure you have certain aspects. Are you a good team? That's the first and most important thing. Are you a good team? Do your academics align with our conference's academics? That's another very important question here. Another really small, $340 million small, but a smaller point is what kind of a stadium and atmosphere do you have? For the longest time, South Florida has played at Raymond James Stadium, really good stadium, NFL quality stadium. However, the big issue with that is that it's multiple miles off of campus. You don't get those students coming over here and there. Anybody who knows anything about UCLA knows that's going to be an issue when they play in the Big Ten because, it's hot, blah, blah, blah. More than likely, the UCLA is going to be like Chargers games where it's the away team that takes over the stadium. I'm sorry, a Raiders fan. I had to do that. Continuing on. I think an on-campus stadium really improves the student experience and really activates the campus, USF CFO Richard Sobere said. It brings some additional reputation to the university, and I think it's a positive thing. I think it's a positive thing, too. He also said here that the Board of Trustees and the State University System Boards of Governors still have to approve the project before it can officially move forward. The trustees could approve the plan at a meeting on June 13th. USF would spend $140 million under the plan with another $200 million borrowed over 20 years, $20 million per year. The school would source $50 million from donations. They've actually done a pretty good job of that recently to the USF Foundation, $31 million from its capital improvement fund, and an estimated $59 million from selling broadband equipment and licenses. The stadium was designed by Barton Malo and Populous, which will receive $22 million for its services. So let's make sure we're all on the same page here. That is 100% a great move. Now, I know you're thinking, what the hell does that mean? It's a big difference here. Having a stadium off of your university, it really hurts it. You saw the fact that even Tulane, they were playing in the Superdome, an NFL caliber stadium. They wanted to go make their own. They did. We see a couple other examples there. As a matter of fact, again, we have to talk about this because South Florida, I think they rested on their laurels too long. They didn't act soon enough because their in-state rival really, really did. As a matter of fact, we're going to go into the fact of 2007 was an extremely pivotal year for where we are right now. I know 16 years ago, what the hell are you talking about? 2007 was absolutely huge for two really big reasons. Now, I know you might all remember here, but never forget, USF ranked number 2 in the BCS in only its 11th year of football. And you see this, the BCS standings here, 6-0 South Florida. They eventually lost a couple more games down there. Trust me, they fell from here. They had a good season, obviously. This was 2007. They were number 2 in the BCS standings ahead of Boston College. Obviously, LSU, Oklahoma, they had all lost some games there, but South Florida was doing their thing. They were all the way back here. This is 16 years ago. So think about the situation. 16 years ago, they were here. And then you think about their crosstown rival, UCF. There's a big difference between these two because one did it properly in conference realignment and the other one didn't. Remember when I said 2007? Think about this. This is the picture of 2007. Let's go to that rivalry because you see it shift roughly a little bit after this towards UCF from USF. So this is on the battle for I-4 in their football game results. So you see here the first couple of games, 2005, 2006, 2007, and again, they beat the brakes off these guys, 64-12. They're like, this isn't a rivalry game. What the hell are we even doing this for? And then they played in 2008, and then they took a couple-year break. So at this point, 2008, 2007, you're like, yo, dude, we got this in the bag, man. UCF stands no chance against us. They're never going to win this game. It's going to be like Maryland, West Virginia, and we're going to be West Virginia. They don't stand a chance. Well, 2013 comes around, UCF was able to win a game. And then they were able to win a game at Tampa. And then UCF took 2. And then a 6-year straight run, UCF, they win that. So think about that. From the time of 2007, okay, from 2007 until now, UCF is up 8-4, a 2-1 winning ratio on a team that had never beaten them as of 2007. So what the hell happened here? Again, something that's very important from a conference realignment perspective is your administration serious about turning their resources towards football? If you are going to be successful long term. UCF wanted to grow their brand. And again, what they were doing here, the first thing they did was they hired Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator George O'Leary. They were in Conference USA. They had a couple of years here that were pretty decent. Again, 4-8 was not great. They had a couple of years. If 4-8 wasn't great here, then they did a pretty good job here. They would win the Conference USA championship game going 17-7. They did a pretty good job, coming up from there. Then they go 5-7. Then they get invited to the Big East. The Big East, which was rebranded to the American Athletic Conference, which South Florida was one of the original founding members, not UCF. They were added in. And then you see the fact they go, boom, 10-4. Do pretty well here, 9-4 here. And then the last year we had 0-12. And you think, okay, this team, they're back down to earth, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to be very good. Scott Frost comes in. Remember here, George O'Leary, it didn't work out the way that they wanted it to. He did pretty good. But then Scott Frost comes in. Remember, he taking over a team that had not won a game since 2014. Comes in, goes 6-7, and then immediately runs the table, goes 13-0, undefeated season. In fact, they called themselves national champs, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That was what happened here. So they immediately turned it around. And again, the Josh Heupel era, Josh Heupel now the head coach at Tennessee. So they were 2 for 2 on good head coaches. Scott Frost is good at UCF, not at Nebraska. I'm sorry, not Nebraska fans. And now they're hiring Gus Malzahn too. As a matter of fact, they're hiring Gus Malzahn, and Auburn is, I think, still potentially paying his contract out. So they're definitely investing in football. Not only this, remember how we mentioned that USF was nearing the green light for their stadium? Well, what happened back in 2007 for UCF? Boom, FBC Mortgage Stadium, a.k.a. the Bounce House. Very first season opened in 2007. So remember that. 2007 was really important because USF got all the way up to number 2 in the polls, and the whole time South Florida was just biding their time. They're biding their time. They're biding their time. Biding their time. Now nobody mistakes UCF for being below USF. Nobody will say that. UCF is going to the Big 12. USF is in the American, doing their best to do what they can. But you think about that situation because remember here, FBC Mortgage Stadium was their new stadium. Their old stadium was a really far distance away, and they knew they had to address it. So Camping World Stadium was where they played their original games, and that's all the way over here. So that right there is 16 miles. So this is where the university is, and this is where they had to go play their games. They eventually created the Bounce House. And if we come down here to the Bounce House, it's all the way up here, FBC Mortgage Stadium. Here's the university. Here's the stadium. They knew they needed to get this done in 2007. USF just found this out a couple of weeks ago. Resting on your laurels in conference realignment is going to get you hurt. It is definitely hurting USF right now. They're nearing the green light for their new stadium. Is it going to be enough to get them to the Big 12? Remember here, it was originally thought that it was going to be Houston, Cincinnati, BYU, UCF were going to be added in. And then the next 4 was Boise State, Memphis, SMU, and then South Florida. Now, they're potentially going to get passed up by UConn. They're going to potentially get passed up by the Four Corner schools. Lots of options there. Even UNLV has been mentioned, for God's sakes, over South Florida. So did they wait too long? Did they take their time? I believe they did. They missed their chance. Back in 2007, they were riding high while UCF was doing their thing under the radar. And then now look where they're at. Remember, you cannot rest on your laurels in conference realignment. All right, guys, get in the comments right now and let me know what you think. And again, I think that USF has just waited too long. This took too much time. It's the government, blah, blah, blah. But the administration was not as serious as they needed to be to get where they needed to go. They were ahead of UCF, and now they're way behind. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.